This is a story about a boy who didn't fit in. You see, he was never good enough for the other kids, too stupid for the teachers, and too awkward for his own friends. They called him names like Slowpoke, Doofus, and Knucklehead. So this boy spent most of his time alone. But that didn't make him unhappy. He had a big imagination and a small piece of charcoal. With those two things, he created worlds full of wonder and adventure. He drew pictures of magical creatures roaming through enchanted lands and fierce warriors battling evil dragons. But one day, someone found his drawings, the same drawings that he hid from the world. It was the school art teacher. She took one look at his drawings and threw them into the garbage can. "What are these silly doodles? Why would you waste your time with such childish fantasies?" she said. "You need to learn real art, not these fantasy pictures of yours." She started giving him grades based on famous artists and classic paintings. But he wasn't interested in those. He liked drawing the monsters under his bed, the ones that made him feel brave and strong. But every time he tried to draw them, she tore up his paper and told him to try again. For years this went on. He got worse and worse at the real art, but he got better and better at his fantasy drawings. Then one day, the art teacher announced that there would be a school art contest. The winner would receive $100 and an opportunity to have their art displayed in the local art gallery. She also promised extra credit to anyone who participated. The whole class got excited except for our boy. He didn't want to participate. He knew he would probably win last place again. But then he remembered all the times he spent alone drawing pictures, dreaming of faraway lands. He thought about the stories he wanted to tell and the pictures he wanted to show. So he decided to enter the contest with one of his fantasy drawings. The next day, he came to school with a giant sketchbook. In it, he had drawn a detailed map of his imaginary world, complete with forests, mountains, and rivers. On one page, he drew a huge castle with high towers and thick walls. On another page, he drew a fierce knight with a shiny sword and a fearsome dragon with sharp teeth and wings. But when the art teacher saw his drawing, she just shook her head and said, "This isn't real art. It's just a bunch of doodles. Why do you keep doing this?" Embarrassed, he took his sketchbook back home. That night, while looking at his drawings, he felt sad and discouraged. Should he give up on his dream of becoming an artist? Was he really wasting his time? He thought about the contest and how much he wanted to win. Maybe if he practiced more, he could improve his drawings. So he started drawing every day, trying to make his pictures as detailed and realistic as possible. He learned about perspective and shading. He studied the works of famous artists. He practiced drawing characters, both human and fantastical. One day he decided to enter another contest. This time he drew a picture of a knight fighting a dragon. It was the best drawing he had ever done. He put so much detail into it. When the contest results were announced, he won first place. His drawing was displayed in the local art gallery. A lot of people came to see it, including his art teacher. "Oh, so you can draw, can you?" she said sarcastically. "It's just a picture of a guy on a horse, nothing special." But he didn't care what she thought. He was proud of his drawing. He knew he had improved. As the years passed, he continued entering contests. Sometimes he won, sometimes he didn't. But he never stopped drawing. He drew pictures of knights and dragons, but he also drew pictures of landscapes and portraits. He even drew some real art. One day, one of his drawings caught the attention of a famous art collector. She bought several of his fantasy drawings and asked him to draw more. She became his first patron, someone who paid him to draw whatever he wanted. For a while he was happy, but then he started feeling like he was being boxed in. His patrons kept asking him to draw more fantasy art, but he wanted to draw other things too. So he did something crazy. He quit. He stopped taking on commissions, and he stopped entering contests. He just drew whatever he wanted for fun. For a while, he didn't show his drawings to anyone. Then one day he decided to hold his own art exhibit. He invited his old art teacher and all the people who had ever doubted him. When they arrived at the exhibit, they were shocked. They had never seen anything like it before. There were pictures of knights and dragons, yes, but there were also pictures of everyday life and abstract art. Some of his drawings were funny, some were serious, some were beautiful, and some were thought-provoking. His old art teacher was speechless. She had never seen such raw talent and creativity. She walked up to him and said, "You are truly gifted, but don't let it go to your head. Remember where you came from and never stop learning. He smiled and said, "Thank you, I won't." That day, he sold almost all of his drawings. The critics loved his unique style and imaginative world. They called him a genius and a visionary, but he didn't care what they thought. He was happy just to have his art appreciated by others. From that day on, he continued making art. He traveled the world, met other artists, and experimented with new styles. But no matter what he drew, he always added a little bit of magic to it. After all, he was the boy who drew pictures of monsters under the bed, the ones that made him feel brave and strong. He may have been too stupid for the teachers, too slow for the other kids, and too awkward for his friends, but he was perfect in his own way. He was the boy who refused to give up on his dreams, no matter how many times he was told that he couldn't do it. He was the boy who proved that it doesn't matter if you're not the best or the smartest or the strongest. All that matters is that you never give up, because sometimes that's all it takes. The courage to keep going when no one believes in you, even when you barely believe in yourself. If you enjoyed this video, please leave us a thumbs up. We'll see you next time.